Running up the score. Jerry.
He just sucks.
He's not good.
let's just put it out on the table. He's not a good quarterback.
Oh, way to join a team that already won a title.
You know, Ben is unique. These guys are unique. They're championship runs. I mean, this one's unique.
Let's hope some people still get thrown at and, get hit in baseball.
Keep it interesting,
right?
Yeah.
I can't take this guy serious right now.
I dare you to watch it and tweet us. Tell us, you know what? This is a hell of a sport.
Where's this been all my life?
The New York Jets you know what they need to do with their second round pick? They need to just start taking it and lighting it up on fire.
Where's that quarter? Let me look at that one more time.
This is Running Up the Score. And it starts now.
The Cleveland Browns select Baker Mayfield.
Wow. It is Baker Mayfield.
With the second pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Saquon Barkley, running back, Penn State. With the third pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Sam Darnold, quarterback, USC.
With the fifth pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Bradley Chubb, defensive end, NC State.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have traded the seventh pick to the Buffalo Bills. With the seventh pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Josh Allen, quarterback, Wyoming. The Oakland Raiders have traded the 10th pick to the Arizona Cardinals. With the 10th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Josh Rosen, quarterback, UCLA. The Philadelphia Eagles have traded the 32nd pick to the Baltimore Ravens. With the 32nd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Lamar Jackson, quarterback,
With the 141st pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Shaquem Griffin, linebacker, Central Florida.
This is Running Up the Score.
All right, it's time to run up the score. Running up the score with Jerry Napoleonello, 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. Brought to you by Yell5 Sports app. We are live on Zenolive and Periscope. What a weekend. Wow. We had some Game 7s. We had some great playoff games in both NHL and NBA playoffs. But most of all, how about the NFL draft? That was everything we wanted. There were so many surprises, starting off with the first pick, which I spoke about last week during my mock draft, a mock draft that was not even close to what really happened. But either way, it was fun. It was a fun sports weekend. We'll get into all of those today. Thanks for joining us today. We got a great show ahead of us. We'll start off with the NFL draft. And I'm going to talk about this more later, too. I just want to get into, some things. I have grades that, I'll be giving. I got some grades from Pro Football Focus. They don't give it a letter grade. They just gave it a grade of, average, above average, below average, good, elite, bad, whatever. So we'll go over those later on. But, what did you guys think of the draft? It started off right off the bat. And, there was talks, and I even spoke about it last week in the show, that Baker Mayfield, there was some heating up news about him being the number one pick. Then it even came out that John Dorsey didn't even tell Hugh Jackson about who he was going to pick until about a day or two before the draft. So that was interesting. That was interesting how that went. But the first draft pick comes up. It's Baker Mayfield. Now, to me, I thought it was a good pick. I liked, Baker Mayfield. There's some speculation that he's Johnny Manziel 2.0. I didn't believe in that. I didn't think that. I felt like he was a better quarterback than Johnny Manziel. He does have the attitude problems, but that's basically on the field, and it's not really an attitude problem. It's just a confidence in himself, and that's something that you want in your starting quarterback, your franchise quarterback. You want confidence. I mean, if your quarterback doesn't have confidence, that team's not going to be too good. That's the leadership role. That's the leadership position on an NFL team, on any team, really. Is that best player. It's that quarterback on football. It's that, say, point guard in basketball. It's your number 4 hitter or your pitcher on baseball, whatever it is. There's always that one position. There's always that one spot. There's always that one player that has to be that leadership role. That has to be that confidence in the team. And Baker Mayfield has all of that. And that's why I liked it. I think, he was the only one that came out before the draft started and basically said, I can take the Browns to where they need to be. I can take the Browns. I can change this team around, this organization around. Not one of the other quarterbacks in this draft said anything like that. None of them, some of them didn't even want to go to the Browns. And, like Josh Rosen, yeah, he wanted to go high, but I don't think he wanted to go to the Browns. So I thought it was a great, pick for the Browns. I thought the second pick that they had, the number 4 pick, I thought that was a little questionable. I thought having Myles Garrett and Bradley Chubb on each other's side, on another side of each other, that's dangerous, and I thought that would have been great for their defense. But don't get me wrong, Denzel Ward, a great cornerback. Every team needs that lockdown cornerback. Trust me. Defensive line really makes your defense. And I think they looked at it as, we already have a dominant pass rusher in Myles Garrett. If we have one there, and then we have a guy in the secondary that can lock down one receiver, it kind of doubles our odds. And, I get it. So then the Broncos go out and do the thing that the Browns could have done and added Bradley Chubb to Von Miller, which is even more dangerous. Good pickup by the Broncos. Hey, it fell right in his lap. They didn't expect him to be there. Don't get me wrong, great pick. And, they signed Case Keenum. So at that time, they weren't desperate for a quarterback. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Case Keenum is a franchise quarterback. I don't think he's that good. But in a way, if you really think about it, they're starting to get back to that Super Bowl team with Peyton Manning. Now, I'm not in any way comparing Peyton Manning to Case Keenum. Don't get me wrong. But at this time right now, Case Keenum is probably a better quarterback than Peyton Manning was at that time. So I think the Broncos had a great draft. They got their needs. A lot of these teams got their needs. Some other teams, obviously went for the sexy pick. I thought the Dallas Cowboys went for their needs. They had a great draft in my eyes. And being a Dallas Cowboys fan, I'm not going to be biased here. I'm not. I'm going to tell you how it is. I wasn't happy with the first pick. But then when you really start to think about it, I get it. I get it, and I'll give you the reasoning why later on. But, when we go back to Denver, I'm just going to come up. I just want to get their picks for the whole draft. Denver, they get Bradley Chubb, the first pick. Then they get Cortland Sutton, wide receiver the Cowboys were looking at. He's a very good wide receiver out of SMU. Then they go Royce Freeman, running back in the third round. Also had Isaac Yadam, cornerback as well. Cornerback they need. Linebacker, wide receiver, tight end, guard, linebacker, running back. I mean, it worked out for Denver. They had a good draft. They needed it. So, overall, the whole thing, and I didn't even get to talk about Josh Allen's issue because it didn't really come out until I think either after my show last week or right before the draft. Whatever, I think it was the day before the draft, so it was about 2 days after the show. Supposedly, he had some racially problematic tweets from when he was 15. The fact that people are willing to go all the way back. First off, you have no life because that takes a lot of time out of your day. Second off, you don't have a life because you're trying to ruin someone else's life. Josh Allen could have gone number one. I don't think he was gonna, and it sounds like right now with the way that the Browns are talking and everything. Supposedly Dorsey knew he was going to take Baker Mayfield 6 weeks ago. So Josh Allen was probably never going to be the number one pick. But there was a good chance he could have, or he could have gone, because we had a quarterback go 3, we had a quarterback go 7, we had a quarterback go 10, we had a quarterback go 32. Obviously, he was the 7th pick. But he could have gone 3. He could have even gone 2 if the Giants would have felt better about Josh Allen. But there was a lot of questions with the Giants, and I'm going to get into that as well. But I kind of want to go into the NBA playoffs because I'm going to get into the draft later on in the show. So the first round's all done now. Raptors defeated the Wizards 4-2 in the series. Celtics defeated the Bucks in Game 7, won that series 4-3. Sixers beat the Heat 4-1. Cavs defeated the Pacers in Game 7. I'm going to talk about the Cavs in a little bit. Rockets defeated the Timberwolves. Warriors defeated the Spurs 4-1. Pelicans swept the Blazers. And then we had the Jazz beat the Thunder. The Thunder are probably going to get broken up now. I don't see Paul George coming back to that team. I could see them getting rid of Carmelo, and I meant to get, and now that I thought about it, I meant to get that the sound. I'm going to try to get it maybe in a little bit, but I forgot the sound of Carmelo basically saying that he's not taking a bench job. Well, Carmelo, you didn't play well in this series at all. You're losing it now. You're not the player that you were. There's no way you can win with this guy. There is just no way, and I've said it. I mean, literally, for people that have listened to my show I've been doing this since 2012, so that's 6 years, okay? For the 6 years of this show, how many times have I said you cannot win with Carmelo Anthony? How many? I'll wait. Because I'm pretty sure I said it over 100 times. It's just, you can't do it. And the way that the Knicks were going to get past the spot that they were in, if they wanted to take the next level, I said they had to get rid of Carmelo Anthony. Thank God they did. I think they can take that next step now. I don't know if it's going to take longer rather than sooner, whatever it is, but they have that stepping stone now that they can get past that spot after getting rid of Carmelo Anthony. The Thunder, their best shot is to get rid of Carmelo Anthony now. And you know what? I don't know if you're going to see him get a job where he's not in a bench job. Because he's just not better than a lot of these teams' starting lineups. He's just not. He doesn't play defense. His shooting has gone down. I mean, there's no point. There's no point. He's a guy that likes the ball. You gotta, for the Thunder, if they want to win, if they want to get past this, you got to get rid of Carmelo. I do think that Paul George is going to be gone. Whether he goes to the Lakers, whether he goes to the Cavs, whether he goes to, whoever, I don't know. I don't see him on the Oklahoma City Thunder next year. So now we go on to the second round. Basically, we're about through game ones. Cleveland and Toronto is game one tonight, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock p.m. So when you do watch this show, if you're not listening live, if you're watching this show on YouTube, obviously game one is done. I wish I could be like, the score will be this. No, I can't. Toronto, Cleveland, game one tonight, 8 p.m. Cleveland's not good. But Toronto has a very hard time beating LeBron James. And LeBron James carried the Cavaliers through that whole series against the Pacers. Game 7 was all LeBron James. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a LeBron fan. Never have, never will be, never was. But I give him this. He carried this team through the first round. Toronto is a tougher team, I believe, than the Pacers are. But the Toronto Raptors, you cannot trust. You can't. You cannot trust the Toronto Raptors just because they seem to fall when it comes to playoff time. I don't understand it. With the great players that they have in DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, for some reason, they just fall apart when it comes to the playoffs, and they fall apart even worse when they play LeBron James. So game one, okay? And then I think probably by the time I get back next week, and I might have a co-host next week, so it's going to be interesting to see if that happens. So keep an eye on that. But if you can see, let me see if I could. There it is. The GOAT. He's back. The Pope, Mike Francesa, made it back to WFAN. He has his first show at 3 o'clock, which is in about 45 minutes. So I'm trying to get out of here so I can hear his show. So before I, go way off task here, I think there's by the time I get back next week, I think there's probably going to be at least 3 games, maybe 2, because for some reason NBA they need like 3 or 4 days in between games, for some odd reason. So we're probably talking about game 3 by the time I get back next week. So I'm going to predict that Cleveland leads this series at least 2-1 at that time. Or if game 3 is about to start, I say it's tied 1-1. I think Cleveland takes game 1. Boston and Philly. Last night, first game, Boston leads this series now. They beat the Sixers 117-101. I think it stunned everybody because we're starting to see how good Brad Stevens is. I mean, the beginning of the season, they're looking good. They get Gordon Hayward to add to Kyrie and the team that they have: Al Horford, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Terry Rozier. This team is now looking like, because of how bad the Cavaliers are, this team's looking like the best team in the East. First game comes out. Gordon Hayward absolutely shatters his leg. Out for the season. So right there, okay, you know what? You still have Kyrie. You still have the rest of the team. Let's see what happens. So you start getting closer to the end of the season. They start to fall off a little bit. Kyrie gets hurt, needs knee surgery, out for the season. So now it's like, wow, Boston really started off being that favorite. And now it's like, it's not looking good now. It's not looking good, but the East is still weak, so maybe we can get past this. So now they start blowing through their first series, and they end up beating the Bucks in Game 7. So we thought maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton and guys like that, Jabari Parker, that they were going to take the Bucks to the next level. They were going to get through the Boston Celtics because of the situation with Boston and their injuries. No, it doesn't happen like that. The Celtics move on. Then we get into this series. Everybody's talking about Philadelphia because they wiped the floor with the Miami Heat. We're thinking the Sixers, you know what? This might be the favorite here. This might be the team that knocks off LeBron James. And you know what? I was in that, I guess, group that said, you know what? The Sixers are the best team in the East. And the Sixers should be going to the finals. But then we go into this first game, and it's like, what happened? And even at the end of the series against the Bucks, your leading scorer, Jaylen Brown, ends up getting hurt, hurts his hamstring. So now, obviously, if you know sports, hamstring injuries are not good. They're not. So who knows when Jaylen Brown's going to be back? So now you first lose Hayward beginning of the season, Kyrie the end of the season, Marcus Smart hurts his thumb. Who knows when he's going to be back? He ends up coming back for this game, Game 1. Then you move on, and Jaylen Brown gets hurt. So now you're going in with Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Terry Rozier. And Terry Rozier steps up. Jason Tatum steps up. This team puts together something great. In Game 1, Brad Stevens puts this team together, and they beat the so-called best team in the East, the Philadelphia 76ers. So an interesting thing that happened, obviously, all year we've been talking about who's going to be the Rookie of the Year, Ben Simmons or Donovan Mitchell. My opinion, I think it's Donovan Mitchell because of the team that he had, the team that he's been, carrying, really. Ben Simmons technically is not really a rookie because this is his second year, but he was hurt his first year. So we all know how Boston fans are, and they made it known how they feel about, obviously they don't talk about Donovan Mitchell, but Ben Simmons and Jason Tatum. So first it'll be Ben Simmons at the line. Second will be Jason Tatum at the line. And just listen to the crowd. So here it is.
The Celtics played great defense that last possession. Ilyasova ended up with the open three, Brian. They've got to make those shots after the Celtics put that much pressure on you. Ilyasova and those three-point shooters for Philly have got to knock down some of those three-point shots. It's an enjoyable time of the year during the playoffs.
Markelle Fultz went number 1 this past summer's draft out of Washington, and then Lonzo Ball went number 2. Danny Ainge giving up that top pick to come back to the 3 spot in the draft.
So obviously, as you can hear, they're screaming, not a rookie, when Ben Simmons was at the line, and then they were screaming, he's a rookie, when Jason Tatum's at the line. So I thought that was hilarious. Ben Simmons wasn't bothered by it, whatever. But the one thing that we're talking about the Sixers now, and what they've done with this team was unbelievable. Trust the process, whatever. They tanked a couple of years, this and that, whatever. Then, if you really think about it, if they didn't miss on Jahlil Okafor and ended up with a solid player, this team could be something. Then, when you really think about it, Markelle Fultz is really not playing in this series. And they're kind of like, the more time we get through this, it's starting to look like Markelle Fultz is a dud. It's a bust. I mean, the guy can't shoot a free throw. He can't shoot, period. They're a little worried about him. I mean, more than a little, because he was the number 1 pick, but they're worried. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like, because the Lakers took Lonzo Ball, so, that's at least not looking like a bust. But I just think it's hilarious. I mean, what Philly could be and what they are right now, I mean, it's unbelievable. But Houston wins this game 110-96. They take a 1-0 lead. Boston has a 1-0 lead. Game 1 for Toronto and Cleveland is tonight. Then we have Golden State against New Orleans. Golden State wiped the floor with New Orleans, 123-101. Mind you, this is without Steph. Steph comes back, and they just came out. He's official for Game 2. He is playing Game 2. This team wiped the floor with the teams that they've played so far without Steph Curry. So, I mean, we're on a collision course right now for Houston and Golden State. I'd be ecstatic for that series, which I think is going to happen no matter what. It's going to be a great series. I think that's going to be an awesome series. A lot of firepower. Houston's three-point shooting, Golden State's three-point shooting. I mean, it's going to be an unreal series. I think Houston takes Utah maybe to Game 5, blows them out. Golden State, I think, could even sweep New Orleans, but I think New Orleans gets maybe 1. So the West, there's so much more firepower. No matter what, one of these West teams are going to win the finals. They're going to win the championship. And I don't think I'm hoping that LeBron James is not in the finals. But like I said last week, who's going to beat him? It's tough. As bad as his team is, the East is not really that good. So, it makes me laugh when you look at it. When it comes to the NBA playoffs, because all we talk about is Golden State and LeBron James. It's always going to be that way. Then it changed this year, and the Cavs are not the team that everybody thought they were going to be. It would be interesting not to see LeBron James in the finals. It doesn't get annoying when you're watching sports. Let's say you want to send a text to your friend or tweet something out about the game or check your fantasy team, or hey, how about you want to go to the game and even set up a tailgate party? And you have to go to all these different apps, websites, etc. to do all of that. What if you can go to just one place for all of this? Well, I'm here to tell you there is a place like that, and it's Yell5 Sports app. You can get detailed real-time scores, stats, news, rumors, fantasy news, team and player comparisons, built-in social network feature, which is integrated with Twitter and Facebook, create private one-to-one or group chat with your friends, buy and sell tickets, host a tailgate party, or even a pickup game. One sports app for all your sports information. Make sure you download Yell5 Sports app in the iTunes App Store. Yell5, the only sports app that you need.
All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Hey, this is Jerry Napoleonello, host of Running Up the Score. We are live once every week at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we hit on all the top headlines in the world of sports. You can also find us on Stitcher, iTunes, and those of you that like the visual aspect, check us out on YouTube. Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.
Cyberstation USA is the future of radio. Get your business into the online future at the world's largest internet radio station. From banner placement on our homepage to any of our broadcaster stages, commercials on our video player, audio spots on any of our shows, or at the beginning of any of our on-demand broadcasts. Cyberstation USA offers competitive rates with a worldwide reach. A fully integrated one-stop shop social media broadcast platform. For more information, please contact our sales department at cameo@cyberstationusa.com.
We used to have it all, but now's our curtain call. So hold for the applause. Oh, oh, oh. And wave out to the crowd and take our final bow. Oh, it's our time to go, but at least we stole the show. 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 At least we stole the show.
Now back to Running Up the Score. Here's Jerry.
All right. First call in at 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. You can also follow and tweet us at RUTS Sports, as well as follow us on Instagram at RUTS Sports. Check out our website, www.rutsports.weebly.com. You'll find all our information and every website that we are on. So I'm going to get into some baseball here. Yankees are the hottest team in baseball, by far. They went on a 9-game winning streak. Obviously, it was snapped last night by the Houston Astros in a 2-1 loss. I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, you can't win them all. It's just inevitable that you're going to lose. It sucks that we lost to Houston, but you know what? We just swept the Angels. I'm not really worried with the Yankees. I think they're going to continue to play well. Their pitching has been pretty outstanding right now. But yeah, they have their win streak snapped. The Red Sox grand slam, last night tied most before the month of May ever. After not having at least one last year. That's the crazy thing. That they've had. I think they have 6 now, which is insane. And you know what? So far, in this season so far, the young part of this season, the strikeouts are unbelievable. There's more strikeouts so far this season than there is hits. That's insane. And, it's an epidemic right now. I mean, you can honestly say that the strikeout is an epidemic in baseball. And while we're talking about strikeouts, let's talk about a rookie here. Josh Hader, pitcher for the Brewers. He has been pitching unbelievable for the team. And, I mean, it's just, he ended up breaking a record since they've moved the mound. That's how long ago this was. The first time since they moved the mound that a pitcher faced 9 batters, walked 1, and struck out all 8 batters. And got a save, obviously, for a 3-inning save. But when you really look at his numbers, 8 innings pitched, 4 hits, 5 walks, 39 strikeouts, a 1 ERA. I mean, it's unreal. If you really look at Hader's faced 62 batters this season and he struck out 39. That's outrageous. In terms of strikeouts per 9 innings, it's 19.5. Here are the highest ever K per 9 with pitchers who have worked over 50 innings this season. We'll just go with those who finished with at least 15 Ks per 9. So 2014, Aroldis Chapman, 17.67. Craig Kimbrell, 2012, 16.66. Craig Kimbrell, 2017, 16.43. Kenley Jansen, 2011, 16.10. Carlos Marmol, 2010, 15.99. Aroldis Chapman, 13 and 15, both at 15.83 and 15.74. Dellin Betances, 2016, 15.53. Edwin Diaz, 2016, 15.33. And Aroldis Chapman, 2012, 15.32. I mean, he's blowing away the numbers here, blowing away these numbers. So it's nice to see a rookie like that come up and dominate the way it is. But the way he's dominating, and when it comes to strikeouts, it's almost everybody now. Everybody that's coming out of a bullpen. I don't think you're going to see a guy coming out of the bullpen that throws less than 95. I mean, it's the truth. All of these guys throw hard. And you know what? It's hard for even a Major League Baseball player, because it's not even, back then, if you had guys that threw hard, that's what they threw. They threw hard. That's it. But now you're getting guys that throw 98, 99, and then break off a 81 mile per hour curveball, 79 mile per hour curveball, or an 88 mile per hour slider. I mean, it's insane the way that the pitchers are worked up this year and years prior. The last, we've been working up to this point the last, I would say, probably 7 years or so. These guys are throwing harder now. Their curveballs and their breaking pitches are unbelievable. It's hard to be a position player nowadays, because it's just, you're facing the best of the best. It's just that simple. So we also go on to some struggles. The Dodgers have been struggling, and it doesn't end there. The other day, Cody Bellinger was benched for lack of hustle. Then they hear Corey Seager will need Tommy John surgery and he'll be out for the season. So now it kind of opens up questions. Will Manny Machado end up in LA? Do I think so? No. But it's possible, because the thing is, you're looking at it as he could be, unless he's willing to sign a long-term contract, he could be a rental. And I mean, in terms of the Dodgers, it might work out anyway, because you have Corey Seager. Don't get me wrong, Manny Machado is better than Corey Seager, but Corey Seager is one of the better, if not top 5 shortstops in the league. So do I think that, because the thing is, the Orioles are going to want a lot in return for Manny Machado. Let's be serious. It's Manny Machado. He's one of the best players in the league. So they might want a lot. So when it comes to the Dodgers, yeah, you might have to give up a lot for a rental player. And do they want to do that? I don't know. Because he's a free agent after this year. So that's up to the Dodgers. Do I think they could get through it without Corey Seager or Manny Machado? Yeah, I think so. I think they could get past and win that division. But then we go on to the NBA again with Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, a lot of people expect him to be gone in the offseason. And one team that he's been tied to is the Lakers. But this whole situation has been crazy, and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I know what's going on, because I have no idea what's going on with this whole situation. There's been the talks were that he was gonna come back, then it wasn't, then he wasn't gonna come back, then this and then that, and then it's like, oh yeah, he's not gonna come back for the rest of the season. There's a timeline here. Leonard's been back in San Antonio for a few weeks by the morning of March 21st. Several of his Spurs teammates had seen him working out in the team's facility, but picture day was the first time many had seen him in a uniform since January 13th, the last of the 9 games he played in the season. It was very brief, Manu Ginobili said afterward, but it was good to see him around. On March 7th, he said the injury and his current pain level were hard to explain, but that obviously I'm a competitor, and if I could play, I would play. He didn't volunteer any of his feelings about the Spurs or how they managed the situation, but when asked directly if he could see himself finishing his career with the Spurs, Leonard said, yeah, for sure. Greg Popovich consistently affirmed his personal affection for Leonard, but repeatedly expressed frustration about his rehabilitation process from an injury they never expected would take this long to heal. You'll have to ask his group. Popovich consistently said when he was asked for updates before reminding everyone that Spurs doctors had cleared him back in December. So it's crazy. This is an insane situation. I don't know what's going on. I don't think anybody knows what's going on. I don't even think the Spurs know what's going on. Their season's over now, so it's going to be interesting to see what goes on with Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs. But they would have to trade him if he does go somewhere else. It would have to be in a trade. And I mean, you're probably looking at a number 1, draft pick, like a first round draft pick for him, and maybe a second first round draft pick for next year. So he's still one of the top players in the league, but people are now questioning his loyalty, I guess, or have been questioning his toughness. And stuff like that. And I think Kawhi Leonard was upset the way that Popovich did question his toughness, I guess. And I think it's just time for them to maybe call it splits. And I would love to see Kawhi Leonard in purple and gold next year. But that's not here nor there. NHL playoffs. First round, Lightning defeated the Devils 4-1. Bruins defeated the Leafs in Game 7 4-3. Capitals defeated the Blue Jackets 4-2. Penguins defeated the Flyers 4-2. Predators defeated the Avalanche 4-2. Jets defeat the Wild 4-1. And Golden Knights sweep the Kings 4-0. Second round, we got about through 2 games. Only one series has gone through 3. Tampa Bay and Boston tied 1-1. Washington, Pittsburgh tied 1-1. Nashville and Winnipeg tied 1-1. And Las Vegas and San Jose. Las Vegas is leading that series 2-1 after their overtime win last night. Carlson with a wicked wrister. Top left corner in the candy shelf. I guess the toy shelf. That's what it was. Yeah, that was pretty bad. But how about the youth football study on CTE? They were saying about kids playing football under the age of 12 are showing signs quicker than most of CTE. And this is huge for the NFL. This is huge for football altogether. Again, I've always been one. I mean, we've talked about this over and over again. We even had a doctor on to talk about it. CTE has been big in the NFL and in sports altogether for the last 5 years, I guess. More so the last 3. So it's going to be interesting to see how football goes on from here. But I've always been one to say, I feel like I would let my kid play football at a young age just because I know how the sport is. And when you're younger, that's when you learn the fundamentals. That's when you learn the way to tackle, and just kind of like being on a team. And if you really ask football players that are either retired or still playing, and they will let their kid play football, they say the same thing. What football has taught them, that's what they want football to teach their kid. And it's just it's a different kind of team sport. And my opinion, when I do have kids, and it's hard for me to say right now because I don't have kids, but, I'm engaged now. I'll be married in 2 years. I probably, won't be having kids for a little while just because my fiance Nicole is younger than me. So, when she's ready for a kid, that's when we'll have a kid. So, it's hard for me to say. But when it does get to that point, I'm going to sit down with my kid. If he was to come up to me and say, I want to play football, I am not going to be the one to say, no, you can't. No, it's not going to happen, because I know how I would feel if my parents were to tell me, listen, you can't play this sport because of this. It wouldn't happen. I'd be upset. I don't want my kid to kind of, say that I'm the reason why. I don't want to be that reason. So I want him to choose when it gets to that point. And if he does want to play, I'm all for it. I am all for it. And it's just going to be interesting to see how football goes on from here. This is a tough situation. It's a tough topic to talk about because of what CTE does to a person. But I think the way that the NFL is going, the way that youth football will be going, I feel like it's going to get better. So we'll see what football is in a few years. So talking about football, obviously, let's get into the NFL. Obviously, there was reports saying that they wanted to eliminate the kickoffs next season. It's not going to be that, they're not going to get to that point. Not next year. They said they may fiddle with it, I guess. Now, my opinion on kickoffs. I love the kickoff. I think the kickoff is a huge part of football. There is so much, I guess, momentum that can be gained or lost on the kickoff. Fumble, kick return, big hit. Those are all things that cause momentum, whether it be a loss of momentum or a gain of momentum. I don't think there's a different play. I don't think there's another play in the NFL or in a football game that gains more momentum for a team than a kickoff. Kickoff return, kickoff, a fumble and a kickoff, whatever it is. So to me, you're taking like the heart out of football. And people may think I'm crazy when I say that, but the kickoffs are so huge to a game. And, I can't really give an example for any other sport. Maybe with baseball when, you're talking about, and it's not even close to, kickoffs, but, an intentional walk. And they were talking about it in the Yankee game the other day. What an intentional walk does. So now it is, I want to walk him. You give the four fingers up. He goes down the baseline. He gets first base. It used to be where you would throw out. You'd throw out 4 pitches. The batter could swing at it. You throw it anywhere close to the plate, he can swing at it. You can overthrow it. And you can take a pitcher out of his rhythm. And that's what they were talking about on the Yankee game. They were saying that, you know what? A pitcher could be in such a hot streak of throwing strikes, and then you go to intentionally walk, and he doesn't get out of his rhythm because all he has to do is put up the 4 fingers, and he walks down. So you're never getting out of that rhythm of throwing a ball, so you're still throwing strikes. But back then, when they had, where you would throw 4 out, you're throwing out. It kind of gets you off of your rhythm, and there's a time where a pitcher could just lose it. So, just like plays like that made the sport great, that made the sport what it is, and having it taken away, it's kind of hard. And that's why I don't want to see kickoffs taken out of football. I mean, it's bad enough that they moved it up so that basically every freaking kick is a touchback. But overall, I think it's just... It's a bad call, and thankfully they're not taking it out yet. But Romo spoke to some reporters about Dez Bryant. He says that Dez Bryant will not hurt a locker room, and I have to agree because, if everybody, and which everybody now, I mean, let's be serious, all these stores are closing because of Amazon. If you don't have Amazon Prime, there's something wrong with you. So if you do have Amazon Prime, that means you have Amazon Video. Go watch All or Nothing with the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, now I watched I think there's 8 episodes. So for each week. So there's about 2 games per episode. You're going to see Dez Bryant behind closed doors. Now, to me, watching this show got me pissed more than anything that they released Dez Bryant. Because he just shows the heart. He just shows what the Dallas Cowboys are. He shows what he did for the Dallas Cowboys. Not one of them was where it was like, what is he doing? Why is he being a cancer? No, it wasn't anything like that. There was one part where he did get into it with Jordan Lewis, but it was a competitive thing. It's something that you see in a football team at all times, training camp, practice, whatever it is, you're going to have players fight each other. It's just going to happen. They didn't throw punches at each other. They just went competitively at each other, wanting to go one-on-one with each other. And you know what? Dez Bryant was making Jordan Lewis better that day. And he makes players on the other side of the ball better because of the competitive nature that he has. And the reason that they released him pisses me off. After watching this show, it pisses me off more than anything. So before you go around saying that Dez Bryant would hurt a locker room, is going to do this and that to a locker room, go watch All or Nothing with the Dallas Cowboys. And then come back to me, tweet me, send a comment on Instagram, next show, write a comment on Periscope, whatever it is. Do whatever you want. I want to hear what you have to say when it comes to Dez Bryant after you watch All or Nothing. So another player, obviously, the Jason Witten retired now, so that's going to be interesting. And I said on Twitter last week when it first happened that it kind of shows something that Dallas Cowboy fans don't want to see or don't want to hear, and the Dallas Cowboys altogether don't want to hear. In my way of looking at this with Jason Witten, he's about 1 or 2 years that he could still play. Do I think he should? Am I glad that he did retire? In a way, yes, I am. It sucks to say. I feel bad saying it because of what Jason Witten has meant to this team, and even watching All or Nothing, you could see what he means to this team. He's a captain, and he's a big captain, big leader when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. But first off, watching the show at the end of the season, he cried during and got emotional during his locker room interview at the end of the season. That was telling, to me at least. He got emotional when he addressed the team at the end of the season as well, also telling. And, just hit like a lack of production. He had the lowest yards after catch in the league last year. Just overall, I think it's better off for the Cowboys. But in my eyes, it's for a guy that's 1 or 2 years that probably could stick it out for. He basically told the Cowboys that you're not close. The route that you're going is not good. And I'm not going to see a Super Bowl if I stay for the next 2 years. If he felt that they were close, he wouldn't be retiring. I'm sorry. Even if you're getting paid, if you're getting offered double the money for your team, because the way that Jason Witten is, he's not going to go for the money. If they had a chance to win a Super Bowl, I can guarantee you he would be laced up. He would be suited up right now in their workouts. It's just, that's the way I looked at it. So now talking about another guy that has questioned or had people question his future, Tom Brady. And he had some interesting stuff to say when it came to a question asked if he felt appreciated by the New England Patriots. And this is what Tom Brady had to say.
And obviously in any relationship, particularly one that's been successful and had such a long run, whether it's a friendship, a marriage, a working environment, there's going to have peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
And so when Giselle says feel appreciated, this brings to mind Coach Belichick and Mr. Kraft. Do you feel appreciated by them, and do they have the appropriate gratitude for what you have achieved?
I plead the fifth. Look, man, that is a tough question. Yeah, I mean,
your wife seems to indicate.
Yeah. I think everybody in general wants to be appreciated more at work, in their professional life. But there's a lot of people that appreciate me more than, way more than I ever thought, was possible as part of my life. So,
so you take it from them?
Well, I think it's you have different influences in your life, and I think the people that I work with, they're trying to get the best out of me. So they're trying to treat me in a way that they feel is going to get the best out of me. And, I've got to get the best out of myself. I think what I'm learning as you get older is it comes from within. The joy, the happiness, those things come from inside. And, to seek that from others, to seek that from outside influences, people you work with, people that cheer against you or cheer with you, or, I feel like it comes from within for me. So I'm trying to build up what's within me so that I can be the best for me, so that I can be the best for other people.
You had also stated, and so I guess we need a reaffirmation or a reconfirmation, you want to keep doing this through your mid-40s?
Yeah, I do. I've talked 2 years with my wife. I've negotiated that thus far. I've still got a little further to go.
So he, the plead the fifth, obviously we all know that was planned. That was scripted. But after it, he kind of went off the cuff there, and it kind of made it sound like he did feel unappreciated. And, the whole Tom Brady and Patriots situation has gone sour, I would say, the last year and a half or so. I think it all started when Belichick banned his trainer, and obviously he believes so much in that trainer, and you could see it in his little documentary series from last year. It's interesting. It's interesting, and the Patriots obviously wanted to get a quarterback. They didn't get him in the first round. They, there was talks of, trading up to, Baker Mayfield said that they were talking about trading up to the number 2 pick to take Baker Mayfield. Obviously, I don't think anybody was going to take Baker Mayfield away from the Browns. They wanted him full force. But this is a headline here, and he later on went and talked about Malcolm Butler. Obviously, that's where a lot of the Patriot players are a little worried or kind of questioned Bill Belichick in benching Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady said he wishes he did play. But overall, I thought that was interesting. So there's a lot going on with the Patriots, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. And I guess we're going to see how that goes on for the rest of the offseason and into next season. We'll see what happens. But he did say that he will be playing next year. So that's a that's something. That's a headline there. So now going into the draft, before I get out of here, he going through Pro Football Focus. There was 3 teams out of the 32 teams that they rated their draft elite. So the first one was the New York Jets. Sam Darnold in their first round. Third round, they had Nathan Shepard. Fourth, Christopher Herndon, a tight end. Then 3 in the 6th, Parry Nickerson, Florenzo Fatukasi, and Trenton Cannon. So they give reasoning for their day 1, day 2, day 3, why they felt. So this is what it says. The Jets should be ecstatic that Darnold was still on the board at number 3. Our number 2 player on the Pro Football Focus draft board. Darnold has shown exceptional high-end play, throwing with accuracy and anticipation desired from an NFL quarterback. He was two strong years of grading under his belt, and while last year was not as good as anticipated, Darnold was still the number 3 graded quarterback in the nation. Outside of his 4 poor games, he must cut back on the bad decisions and fumbles that marred that 4-game stretch, as he finished with the 5th highest percentage of turnover-worthy plays in the draft class last season. But it's the big-time throws that make him a potential special prospect, as he ranks 2nd. Darnold has shown well in crunch time, whether at the end of the half or with the game on the line, and his ability to make plays both inside and outside the pocket will lead to memorable moments for Jet fans. Day 2, with only a 3rd-round pick on day 2, the Jets add athletic defensive lineman Nathan Shepard to the mix, a small school player who looked strong during his limited reps at the Senior Bowl. He has outstanding size and athleticism, and he could develop into a good all-around player given his measurables. Day 3, Christopher Herndon showed strong big play ability last season, forcing 9 missed tackles on only 40 receptions and averaging 9.3 yards after the catch per reception. Parry Nickerson could become a steal in the 6th round, as he has 3 outstanding years of production to go with 4.32 speed. He allowed a passer rating of 41.7 in 2017 and 32.5 when targeted in 2016. Florenzo Fatukasi is an outstanding run defender, grading between 82.8 and 86.1 in all 4 years at UConn, though he provided little as a pass rusher, including a 3.1 pass rush productivity last year that ranked 131st in the draft class. So then we go on their elite. So then the second elite team was the Dallas Cowboys. So they take Leighton Vander Esch, Connor Williams, Michael Gallup, Dorrance Armstrong Jr., Dalton Schultz, Mike White, Chris Covington, Cedric Wilson, Bo Scarborough. Day 1, Dallas made some interesting picks in the draft, and none more than their top pick of Boise State linebacker Leighton Vander Esch. Despite being older than the other top linebackers in this class, Vander Esch is actually younger than all of them in terms of playing time experience. With just 1 season of significant playing time in college, that season, though, was spectacular, seeing him lead the nation with 76 defensive stops and showing the kind of flow to the football that teams love. His potential remains high because of the lack of experience, and if he can develop his coverage skills to match his run defense, he could quickly become one of the game's best linebackers. Day 2, when the Cowboys were at their best, they had the league's most dominant offensive line, and they're trying to get back there with the offensive hire of offensive line coach Paul Alexander, and now selecting Connor Williams in the 2nd round. Williams was the number 2 tackle on our draft board and allowed just 1 sack across the 3 seasons of play for Texas, and that 1 sack was to Dorrance Alexander, who they ended up selecting later on. He has shown excellent pass blocking and run blocking skills, and looked to have the ability to stay outside at tackle, but was seen as a candidate to move inside to guard by many. Dallas could use an upgrade at either right tackle or left guard, and they will need to decide how they are going to deploy Williams and La'el Collins to best improve those 2 positions. The Cowboys also added a Pro Football Focus favorite Michael Gallup, the highest graded wide receiver in the nation in 2017, and one of the most productive players in college football. Gallup faced press coverage on 64 of his targets in 2017, catching 30 of those passes for 568 yards, and showed well at the Senior Bowl against improved competition. Dallas grabbed a QB, Mike White, in the 5th round to back up Dak Prescott. He posted the 6th highest grade in the draft class on deep throws. Cedric Wilson adds receiver depth to this group, and at 6'3", he gained 4.6 yards per route against Power 5 competition in 2015, leading the FBS. With their last pick, they grabbed Alabama running back Bo Scarborough, who never quite lived up to his huge frame, breaking 62 tackles on 267 carries. And the last team that got a elite grade was the Green Bay Packers, taking Jair Alexander, Josh Jackson, Oren Burks, Jamon Moore, Cole Madison, J.K. Scott, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Equanimeous St. Brown, James Looney, Hunter Bradley, and Kendall Donnerson. So, only 3 of those teams got elite. And when we go back to the number 1, number 2, and number 3 picks, you look at the Giants now. Now, I wanted to talk about them before I got out of here. The New York Giants end up selecting Saquon Barkley. Now, don't get me wrong. Saquon Barkley is an unbelievable running back. But when you have needs in other positions, obviously they do need a running back. That's something that they need. But their offensive line needs help, which they ended up bolstering that up with Will Hernandez. Don't get me wrong, one of the better linemen in the draft. But then you're looking at it. They probably could have taken a quarterback, and I think they need it. So Eli Manning, the last 5 years, is 11-37 against teams 500 or better. The Browns and another team is worse. Those are the only 2 teams that are worse. And then among QBs who have been starters since they won their last Super Bowl, 2012, he has the worst QB rating out of all of them. He's led the league, I think, 5 or 6 times in turnovers. It's just, I think they could have went quarterback. He's like 38 now, 39. They should have. And I think they're going to... They're going to see that. Maybe not this year, but they're going to see it next year or the year after whenever Eli Manning retires. I think they got maybe 1 or 2 years left of him. And I'm not saying that that's good football at that time, but, we'll see. But, that will do it for this week's show. I'll be back next week. We'll be talking NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and some baseball. And we'll see what happens in football, if anything breaks. But that will do it for today's show. Thank you for joining us. Again, follow us on Twitter at RUTS Sports. Instagram at RUTS Sports. Go to our website, www.rutsports.weebly.com. Call in at 605-562-7085. Press 5 to be heard live. We'll be back next Monday, and I may have a co-host. But that will do it. I'm Jerry B. Breezy.
Be breezy.
And it is all over! You've been listening to Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.